This is truly the largest overhaul in aviation since the jet age. Full stop.
We are here at the Department of Transportation in Washington, D.C. at the Modern Sky Summit. Abigail, what a great day to hear from Secretary Duffy and so many of the industry leaders. You yourself are somebody who is studying to work in air traffic control. You've taken the assessment. Tell us, what is it that's inspiring to you about going into this field?
Yeah, so I started off joining Civil Air Patrol, the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary, got my introduction into aviation, don't have a background, really love flying. They gave me an opportunity to become a private pilot. So I took that, passed a private pilot, and wanted to continue learning more and thought air traffic control would be a great opportunity.
Now, Abigail, we have all sorts of equipment here at the Department of Transportation today. Why don't you go take a look and talk to some people who are here and find out what's going on?
Awesome. We're here at the radar station. Would you mind explaining the old versus the new system?
Absolutely. So what you have here is the cooperative surveillance radar. So what we mean by that this system will send up an interrogation up to the aircraft, and the aircraft transponder will reply back down, hey, I'm Southwest 123, I'm flying at 23,000 feet. This is the equipment that performs that function. So we have this huge rack here.
Wow.
Is our interrogator system, and you'll see how complex this is. All of this wire wrap, all of the power amplifiers. This is state-of-the-art 1980s technology that is currently operational today. We got to replace this 1980s technology, and this isn't even the oldest. We have 1975 radars that are out there. This is just one component of our radar capability. If you can imagine, this talks to the transponder. We have another radar type we call non-cooperative radar that just sends the pings up into the atmosphere, and the reflections come back. And that helps determine aircraft position, is 8 of these. So in any given radar shelter, you have 4 of these on one side of the wall, and then another 8 for the non-cooperative surveillance. All of this is replaced by this. One small skinny rack. This provides redundant cooperative surveillance. If you imagine 3 more of those, you'll have the cooperative and non-cooperative surveillance that I just referred to, all in about the same footprint as one of these double-sided refrigerator-looking chassis. We can't find replacement cables. We can't find replacement electronics. These printed circuit boards here are all wired wrapped. Can you imagine trying to repair this?
So if one thing goes wrong, does the whole system not work anymore, or?
So these radars are built to have redundancy. So what you're actually looking at is 2 separate interrogators and 2 separate signal processors, we call it. So if one of them fails, the backup will kick in. Also with surveillance, we have multiple layers. So this is ground-based radars. We have satellite-based surveillance known as ADS-B. So with those various layers of capability and redundancy built into the systems themselves, if there was a single equipment failure, the operation is not impacted because of all that redundancy that's built into the system. And then worst case scenario, if you did lose all radar, air traffic controllers have non-radar procedures that they're able to safely guide your aircraft either down to the ground or transition to another sector of airspace that does have surveillance coverage.
See here, this is the Enterprise Information Display System. What is the difference between the old one and the new one?
So for the old one, as you can see, it's powered by floppy disks. And the new one is all the processing in a centralized location on our internal cloud platform.
Awesome. And so you mentioned that typically in these airports, air traffic controllers will have to manually input the data. For example, the METAR, the weather, just basic information, pilot reports. So will this automate the system? How is this different?
Yep, everything is automated, so the air traffic controllers will get all the necessary weather information automatically at their display.
Awesome.
They still have the ability to edit if needed, but everything comes in automatically now in one space.
Wonderful. And what is the timeline for this to be implemented across the country?
So for the system, we'll be going and rolling out later this year, and then we will be at 435 locations by the end of December 2028.
And so this station is the SAI and the SAMR station. Would you mind explaining what those acronyms mean and what the old versus the new is?
Sure. So we'll first start here. So we have our Surface Awareness Initiative. So what this basically does is currently now a lot of towers, the controllers are, looking at their aircraft and vehicles out on the runways and taxiways by using their eyes. They simply are using binoculars looking out the window. Now you can probably, think of the challenge of at night and in times of low visibility, it makes it hard to see. So what we're doing now is giving controllers displays. So you'll see here now, this is actually live traffic now of Tampa International Airport. So now we have these displays up in the control tower now where in addition to the controller's eyes, they have a moving map that show their aircraft and vehicles that are out moving on the airport. So this definitely aids their situational awareness in times of low visibility and at night, and even during the day when you have a big push and you have a lot of aircraft lined up, it just makes their job easier, more efficiently, and increases the safety. So we're deploying that to 220 airports. So this is going out. We already have it operational at 54. So we've been moving at record speed, getting this out there, getting the controllers the tools they need.
And here at the station we have the flight strips. Would you mind explaining what this process is and what the new process will be?
Absolutely. So today the controllers use paper to manage the aircraft at the airport. What we've done is digitize this. So all this information is now going to be on the screen. And as they go from position to position, the controller can then move it. And what this does is it increases the controller's heads-up time.
Very cool. And what is the timeline for this to be implemented across the country?
So we have 17 facilities that already have this, and we'll be going to 89 sites by the end of 2028.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you very much for showing us.
So we are replacing the telecommunications infrastructure, right, away from the copper wires, the decade-old copper wires, and replace it with the modern fiber, the wireless and satellite solutions, right? And as he was saying before, we're moving at unprecedented scale and speed. We're almost rapidly approaching to that 50% success rate of replacing to all those locations that the Secretary was talking about.
Okay, thank you so much. And it does currently work right now. So what is the main
Absolutely.
difference?
Right. So really, the speed, so the safety and the reliability of the network has always been there and always will be there. This is the safest aerospace system in the entire world. What this allows for is the increased capabilities, speed, and flexibility of you need to have a modern infrastructure to get modern capabilities, right? So all the stuff that we were talking about today, or the Secretary and his interrupter was talking about, right? You need to have that modern infrastructure to run it, right? So, but as of today, yes, it is absolutely safe and secure. This is just the modernization to allow all the things that you see here today and more coming for tomorrow's aviation.
And are you familiar with any changes in the hiring process? I know I've read that it can take over a year to get hired. So after you apply, you take the exam. It can take 7 to 8 months to get your training dates, and then after those training dates, to graduate and get a job in the field. Are you familiar with any changes?
Well, I've heard of, unfortunately, all the horror stories, right, of how long it can take. There's some of those situations that still occur out there. But one of the things we did when Secretary Duffy was, put into his position, we immediately partnered with him to say we need to start removing some of these constraints and some of these obstacles. A big part of that was the medical clearance. There were not enough people to review medicals around the country. So yes, the timeline has been expedited for a lot of it. The standards still remain high. In order to become an air traffic controller, you must be highly skilled, highly trained. All of those things start with ensuring that we get the bodies that we need to train them out in the field, and that comes from an actual smooth hiring process. It's getting better by the day. It's not, it's not all fixed yet, but the great thing is we're partnering with this administration to ensure that that can happen and we can get the bodies that are needed.
You had a chance to talk to a lot of the folks who are in the back of the room showing off what some of the upgrades are. What stood out to you as some of the most impressive changes?
I think the most impressive change were the wires. Just a couple weeks ago, especially we're in this area in DC, the Potomac TradeCon, the airspace was actually closed down because of a short circuit. And so now they're changing all of the copper wiring into a high-speed fiber, which would make everything a lot smoother, safer, more effective, and we wouldn't have our airspace closed down and no more flights. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, Abigail, I did not realize when we hired you we'd have an aviation reporter right on our own staff, but we are grateful for your knowledge and expertise.